I think the reality is it's not a perfect world, right? If it was a perfect world, I'd be sighted and wouldn't even need a guide dog, but it isn't a perfect world. And we make the best we can with what we are given. Having guide dogs sit in the footwell is not the perfect solution, but it is the best solution that we have currently, and this is why we do it. Who would have thought? Me, a blind girl who cannot drive, would be talking about cars so much on this channel. Definitely not me, was not on my 2025 bingo card, yet here we are. That's right, we are discussing cars once again. I've got my passenger princess necklace on for the occasion and this Bronco t-shirt. So cute. Do I have a Bronco? No. Not yet anyways. But that first day when I went out car shopping and fell in love with the Bronco Sport, and I was like, I think we're getting the Bronco Sport. I did in fact go to Abercrombie & Fitch because I know they make a bunch of like different car merch and found this Bronco t-shirt and I was like, so cute. I'll definitely order that if I get the Bronco. And then I was like, oh wait, but it's on sale. I should get it now. So now I have Bronco swag, but no Bronco. But I paid for it, so I'm gonna rock it. And you know what? I can be a fan of a car that I don't own. Anyways, we're gonna discuss a topic that's honestly like kind of tricky to get on here and talk about. I feel like one of the main topics of conversation in the comment section that I saw, other than people giving their car recommendations on my car shopping videos, like these two that I did on YouTube, or the ones that I posted on like TikTok and Instagram Reels and stuff, a big topic of conversation was my guide dog sitting in the wheel well, which is the front passenger seat at my feet. A lot of people weighing in, and I just want to address it. Like I want to sit down and share my perspective. And I know that I saw other blind people with guide dogs kind of weighing in and responding to people who might not understand and kind of giving their perspective. But obviously, like, those are just individuals replying to comments. I want to like sit down and address it myself and have a longer conversation about it. It's like everything in life, it's a nuanced topic. And I feel like this is like when you share parenting advice. And you're gonna have people in the comments who are like, that's bad parenting, right? Like when it comes to children and dogs, or just animals in general, like people get real sensitive. And I think it's really easy to think that like the way you do it is the right way or the only way, the best way. And I think it's so important. And I try my best to do this. And by no means I'm not an angel. Like I am not perfect, but I try my best. And I want to try to inspire you to do your best as well, to not judge other people for the way they choose to live their lives. Obviously, unless like it's truly harmful to them or to others. I think it's important to recognize that we are all living very different versions of the same life. And what it's like for me with my guide dog is going to be different than what it's like for you with your pet. And so I just wanted to sit down because the reality is like we as disabled people, like life's hard enough, okay? We've got a lot of judgment to contend with. We've got a lot of ableism to contend with already. And it's like I've grown a thick skin and I know that I'm doing the best thing that I can be doing for me and for my guide dog. But I'm also like sensitive to the fact that there's a lot of blind people with guide dogs who watch me and who read those comments and might not like have gotten to that point yet. And where it does like make them feel really bad about themselves for no reason. And some people were sharing their comments and their perspectives of where my guide dog should be sitting in the car, like in a very loving, kind, caring, compassionate way. But other people were like straight up villainizing the fact that my guide dog mostly sits in the wheel well. And if you did watch my car shopping videos, you'll know that we tested the trunk as well as the wheel well. I tested both. That was the whole point in going car shopping. Was that I wanted to find a car where that was an option, which really brings me into the start of this conversation. Guide dog schools. When you receive a guide dog for the blind from an organization that professionally trains the guide dogs for the blind, that is how they train the dogs. They train the dogs to go in the footwell. And they train them that way for a menagerie. I just really want to use that word. A menagerie of reasons. Number one, we are in all sorts of different vehicles. Shocker, we don't drive ourselves. So for the most part, we're using public transit, buses, taxis, Ubers, Lyfts, friends and families' cars, trains, planes. Our dogs are going, boats, for God's sakes, they're going on boats. Like they're going on so many different types of vehicles than maybe a pet would, right? Like the average pet is going into their mom or dad's car. Maybe the parents have a mom and a dad who both have their own car. So maybe they're going into two different types of cars. For us, my dog is going into so many different types of vehicles, and none of them are mine. So I don't, and blind people in general, don't always have access to trunk space. We don't always have access to a hammock, a dog hammock, to a crated back, to a harness that like we can strap like the dog car seats. We don't have access to those things. The best, easiest place that our dog can be trained to go is at our feet. And in something like an airplane, like my dog has to be able to squeeze into that foot space. Additionally, the issue with things like the dog harnesses, the car seat kind of buckly ones, is that our dogs are trained specifically not to go on furniture. And I've talked about this, like my previous guide dogs, they would get on the bed and the couch. Elton, he like literally refuses. And I tried the first year that I had him to like force him because I wanted to cuddle on the couch or the bed. He is so rigid with the rules that he does not want to. The few times I would get him up, he'd fall off because he didn't understand, because he had never been on beds before or like raised furniture before. And when I do get him up on furniture, I would notice immediately like his behavior would slip in other areas of his training. So he does not get on any furniture anytime, period. So getting the dog onto the back seat to be sitting up in the harness, like that's not a part of his training. And in fact, if I tried to force him to be doing that, it tends to make him slip with his behaviors and training in other areas. So that's not necessarily an option. And for example, like when I met my boyfriend, my mom and I didn't have a car, period. We were living together and just relying on walking, Ubers, Lyfts. When I met my partner, he did have a car, but that car is a small little hatchback. It does not have a trunk space that is accommodating to Elton. So my only option is to put him in the wheel well. And I'm not going to say to my boyfriend, you need to go buy a new car to suit me and the fact that I have a guide dog and I want to put my guide dog in the trunk. So those are like some of the very basic, very reasonable, I think, reasons why guide dog schools do train the dogs to go in the footwell or on the floor if it's in the back seat. And even when I do get Ubers and Lyfts, immediately, like when they see my dog, one of the things they say is, he can't go on the seat. And I'm like, don't worry, he won't be. He will be going on the floor. And he would never even dream of trying to jump up on the back seat. Like immediately his reaction is to step into the footwell. We actually, this is funny, my boyfriend just brought this up to me. We did get like one of the hammocks, the dog hammocks for the back seat of his car, because it is a small vehicle and it is quite uncomfortable for me and Elton when we're doing like longer car rides. And so we were like, let's get the dog hammock and see how that goes. He literally climbed in onto the floor underneath the hammock. He didn't understand. He did not understand. Like he was like, no, I don't get on the seat. I get on the floor. So he crawled under the hammock to the floor. Like that's like the way his mind works. He's like, I'm doggo, that goes on floor. And I think that this brings me to another good point, which is our dogs are getting in and out of our vehicles so much more often than a pet. Your pet maybe goes in the car a few times a day for people who bring their dog lots of places. My dog can be going in and out of our car. Like if we're doing a day, like a Sunday errands day, we're going grocery shopping, we're going to the gym, we're heading to CVS, we're going to the dog park, we're catching up with a friend at coffee, we're running around town, he could be getting in and out of the vehicle like 10 to 15 times. And if every single time he's jumping in and out of the trunk, that's really hard on his joints over time. When every single day, 5 to 15 times that day, he is jumping in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, that gets really hard on their joints. When he gets into the footwell, he just steps in. It's like there's no jump involved. Even with a higher vehicle, like say SUVs, where they do have the trunk space, the trunk is raised much higher than the footwell is. So he is still in, say, the Bronco or the Countryman, he is still able to step in and step out of the footwell versus where he needs to jump in and out of the trunk. And these dogs aren't just pets, like they do have a job, and the longevity of their health really matters. These schools put so much money and so much care and so much time into making sure that they are doing the most that they can to weed out any health issues and to breed dogs and to train dogs that are going to have a really long career span, as long as possible. And so we as handlers also want to do everything we can to maintain the health of our dog. That means making sure that their weight stays under control. That means getting them to the vet for regular checkups, and not doing things that are going to put strain on things like their joints. And then when it comes to say you're like, well, Molly, you can get somebody to pick him up. And just like we did in this vlog last week where we did a mini road trip. And because we put his bed in, it was too high for him to even try to jump. And I put the bed in there so he didn't like slide around and he was comfortable because it was like an 1.5 hour long drive. So we put his bed back there and my partner was able to lift him in and out, and he had to do that all day. Every single time that day that we got in and out of the car, my boyfriend had to pick Elton up in and out. That is not something everybody has access to. Not only does not everybody have access to trunk space, but if they do have access to trunk space and their dog either can't jump due to the height of the trunk or is having trouble with their joints or whatever, having somebody there to lift the dog in and out isn't always possible. Lyft driver, for example. For me, if I'm traveling on my own, I can't lift Elton for damn sure. Absolutely not. Am I going to ask my random Lyft driver, can you pick my dog up and put him in your trunk? No, I am not going to ask them that. And I don't even know that I would trust a random stranger to do it, to be honest, unless like they know how to safely pick a dog up. Because you can hurt a dog by doing that, especially a dog as large as Elton. And, you know, say even like if my mom and I had a car with trunk space, my mom couldn't pick Elton up. Or a year ago, my boyfriend had a really bad back injury. He is in recovery now and he's trained to be there. But like when he was in a back flare up, no universe in which he could have done that. So even like my young, strong, healthy partner, you can have issues where that's not possible. So that is another reason why they do predominantly train them to be up front. And then of course, we're blind. If my dog is in the trunk, I can't look back and see if he's okay. But if my dog is at my feet, the proximity I have to him to easily and quickly be able to monitor what's going on, what he's doing, if he's okay, if he's getting into anything, if he's uncomfortable, it's much easier for me to be able to do that when he's at my feet versus really far away from me. And I actually found myself, because I haven't had my own car for years, and like I said, with my boyfriend's car, we don't have the trunk space. So Elton, for years and years and years, and Gallop and Benny, like have always been at my feet. And so I found when we had him in the back the other day, I was really quite anxious because he wasn't making any noise and I couldn't see him. So I found myself, and my boyfriend can't like take his eyes off the road. He's driving on a highway. So I found myself getting really anxious about Elton, wondering if he was okay. Like, is he too hot back there? I mean, we live in California. It is hot here. And like the AC doesn't pump in the trunk. Like there's no AC vents in trunks. The AC vents are like in the front and back seats. So I was like, is he getting enough AC back there? Is he getting too hot? Is he uncomfortable? And I was getting stressed not having access to him, to feel him, and not being able to hear or see him. Yeah, no AC back there.
Yeah.
And the reality is, like, I would love to get a vehicle with trunk space where he could go, where that is an option, especially for long road trips, right? Like when we are in the car for long periods of time, because it is physically more comfortable for me and for him. And I do understand that it is ultimately safer. And in particular, like I would want to get, like if I did get a vehicle with good trunk space, say the Bronco or the Countryman, I would want to get one of the greats that you attach. We had them in my cars when we were younger with my dogs. They like go from the top of the back seat to the bottom of the roof. And so it's just like extra protection so that if you were, God forbid, in a car crash, the dog wouldn't fly forward over the seat between the roof and hit the backs of your front seats or hurt anybody in the back row. So that is something that in an ideal dream world, I will one day have again. But I think predominantly for at least like 5 minute down the road kind of trips, I would still put Elton at my feet. I think most things in life carry some form of a risk. You take calculated risks. I've been doing this with my guide dogs for 18 years and thankfully haven't had any issues. I don't want people to think that I or any of us with guide dogs who keep our dogs at our feet in vehicles are bad dog parents, that we are taking unnecessary risk, that we don't love or care for our dogs, because that's not the case. But we all have different experiences of life. We all have different limitations, different needs. And I don't want anybody who is a guide dog user who does that to feel bad about themselves, like they are less than the pet parents who always have their dog in a trunk or in a car seat, or like you know what I'm saying, the slings, because we're doing our best with the tools that we have and our life experiences. And I hope that this was like a little bit enlightening maybe for those of you who were advocating for putting the dog in the trunk over the foot space. Even in a world where I was predominantly putting my dog in the trunk, I would still want to get a vehicle where the foot space was an option for us. And frankly, every single time we went back to the car, like on our little road trip, every single time we went back to get in the car, Elton was like pretty grumpus about the fact that he had to go in the trunk. He didn't want to go in the trunk. He was like, but mamas, I sit with you. Yeah. You're my mommy and you're my best friend and I sit with you and we sit together. Okay, I think I hit on everything that I wanted to say in this video. This was obviously a very classic Molly Rambles video, but I just thought it was an important thing to address, and I would love for other blind people with guide dogs to weigh in, share their perspective, their experience. Again, as I always say, I'm not the representative of blind guide dog users. I'm just sharing my experience as a guide dog user of 18 years. But I would love, I know a lot of guide dog trainers follow me. I would love for you guys to weigh in, and yeah, just share your perspectives, your experience, even if it differs from mine. Would love to hear why you put your dog there, or if you don't, let me know. And again, I just want to encourage everybody to try to just like live the most judgment-free life possible. I think it's always like what you put out is what you get back. Like if you don't want to be judged, don't judge others, I think is the best way to live. And that's all for this video. And until next time, if you want to see our little mini road trip with Elton in the trunk, you can click right here to watch this video. Or if you just enjoy a good Molly Rambles, you can click this video right here.